This is the scary story about the teeth.
There was a girl named Carly who never brushed her teeth.
Her mother and father always tried to get her to,
But she refused every time.
Carly's breath started to get so bad
That her parents couldn't even talk to her for a few seconds.
Carly noticed a lot of changes in her mouth.
Like the bad breath and the cavities, but she still refused to brush her teeth. One night when Carly was lying in bed,
She started to feel a sharp pain in her mouth. She ignored it, but it became too intense.
the pain was so bad that she began to scream.
Then blood started to pour out of her mouth.
Her parents then came rushing into the room after hearing her scream.
But they were too late.
Carly was lying dead on the bed, with blood coming out of her mouth,
Her parents then stared in horror.
as a giant leech was coming out of Carly's mouth. During Carly's autopsy, the doctor said because of her not brushing her teeth,
Her mouth was so dirty and infected.
it attracted a leech, and it sucked the life out of her and killed her.
This is the scary story about the pillow.
There was a girl named Rebecca, and one day she became very sick.
Her parents had no idea what she had, so they called a doctor to come over and examine her.
When the doctor got there, he said that Rebecca had the flu and must stay in bed until she is healthy again.
But as the days went by,
Rebecca got more and more sick.
she began to lose weight, and her skin was turning very pale.
Then one day, when Rebecca's parents went to go check on her, they noticed that she was dead.
They were heartbroken and couldn't believe it.
Rebecca's mother then noticed a blood stain on her pillow.
Then picked it up and realized that something was moving inside. She then ripped open the pillow.
And a big black spider came crawling out, completely swollen with blood.
Night after night, this giant spider.
Was slowly sucking the life away from Rebecca until she was dead.
This is the scary story about the new car.
There was a man named Carl who needed a new car, so he searched the internet for a cheap one
He then saw a car for only $800,
and decided to buy it.
so he emailed the person selling it and said that he wanted to buy it.
The person then said okay and gave him an address. When Carl's Uber dropped him off, he gave the man the money and got the keys for his new car.
Then got in it and drove off.
But Carl noticed that it smelled very bad
So he went to the car wash,
and cleaned the outside and the inside of the car.
but after he finished, it still smelled very bad. He then decided to check the trunk, and what he found in there made him scream.
Inside the trunk was a mutilated dead teenage girl's body.
Carl then froze when he heard a voice behind him say,
Oh, I forgot to say that was in there.
Carl's and the girl's body were found in the trunk of the car.
A couple days later on the side of the highway.
This is the scary story about the pizza.
There were two friends named Jade and Carly who were hanging out one day watching TV.
They both then got hungry and decided to order a pizza.
They waited for about 20 minutes for the pizza to arrive.
And when it finally arrived, Jade answered the door.
The pizza delivery man who was at the door was extremely creepy. He was smiling at Jade and giggling.
And then handed her the pizza and walked away.
Carly and Jade then ate the pizza while watching TV.
But about 30 minutes after they both finished the pizza,
Carly told Jade that she did not feel good.
Jade then said, "What do you mean?"
But before Carly could reply, she collapsed to the floor.
Jade then started to feel very weird also.
She then collapsed to the floor
Jade's mom then came in the room.
and saw Jade and Carly's body on the floor.
She tried to help, but it was too late. They were dead.
Jade's mom was about to call the police
When she heard a voice behind her say,
I just poisoned the girls with the pizza. Now put the phone down and come with me.
"This is the scary story about the new carpet."
There was a woman named Cindy who had to buy a new carpet. She was searching the internet all day for one
Until she found the perfect one,
on Facebook Marketplace. She then contacted the seller.
and he agreed to sell it to her.
Cindy then got the address and drove to the seller's house.
When Cindy got there, the person was already waiting outside for her with the carpet rolled up.
She then helped them carry the carpet to her car. Cindy noticed that the carpet was heavier.
Than most carpets, but she just ignored it.
She then paid the man and drove home.
When Cindy got home, she had a very hard time bringing the carpet into her house.
Because it was so heavy. When she finally got it into her house,
She unrolled it, and what she saw made her scream.
there was a dead girl's body rolled up in the carpet.
Cindy then called the police and told them everything.
They then went to the person's house who sold it to her and arrested him. It turned out he murdered his own daughter and rolled her body in the carpet.
This is the scary story about the eye.
There was a girl in class named Jillian who was having a very weird pain in her eye,
She told her teacher about it.
and she sent her to the nurse's office.
The nurse told Jillian that she did not know what the problem was, so she sent Jillian back to class.
When Jillian got home that day,
She told her mom about the pain in her eye.
Her mom couldn't see what the problem was, so she just gave Jillian pain medicine. Later that night, Jillian's mom heard Jillian screaming, and she then ran to her room. When she got there, Jillian was crying, and she then told her mom that the pain spread to her head now. Her mom then rushed her to the hospital, and when they got there, Jillian told the doctor about her eye pain and how it spread to her head. So the doctor shined a flashlight in Jillian's eye, and to his horror, a black spider came crawling out of her eye with all her babies. The spiders were eating Jillian's eye and brain. Jillian then died a few minutes later from the spiders eating her brain.
This is a scary story about the car crash.
There was a couple driving on a lonely road one night when suddenly they saw a car that crashed into a tree.
The man then parked his car on the side of the road and told his wife to stay in the car.
When he approached the car, he looked through the window
And saw a man and woman covered in blood, with their heads almost decapitated.
He then looked in the back seat and saw a young girl who looked very scared.
He then opened the door, picked her up, and took the young girl back to his car.
He then put the girl in the back seat and started driving.
He then told his wife that there was no survivors besides the young girl.
But his wife did not answer him.
He then turned to look at her
and saw blood pouring down her chest.
Her throat had been slit from ear to ear.
The man then looked in the rearview mirror and saw the young girl smiling at him with a bloody knife in her hand.
This is the scary story about Christmas morning.
It was Christmas Eve, and a girl named Jessica was in bed.
She couldn't fall asleep because she was so excited for Christmas.
As she laid in her bed,
She heard a noise downstairs.
thinking it might be Santa, Jessica tiptoed out of bed and went downstairs.
When she got downstairs,
She saw Santa, or so she thought.
Jessica said, "Santa, is that you?"
But when Santa turned around, Jessica noticed that it was just a random guy dressed as Santa.
But before she had time to do anything,
The man jumped on Jessica. The next morning, Jessica's parents woke up and went downstairs.
they then went into the living room and froze in horror at what they saw.
They saw Jessica's severed head on the top of the tree
And her headless body was on the floor, wrapped in wrapping paper.
with a note next to it that said, "We had a lot of fun last night. I'll be back next year."
This is the scary story about the knock.
One night, a girl named Lisa was in bed when she suddenly heard a knock on her window.
She thought it was something random and ignored it, but about 20 seconds later, she heard it again.
She then started to get worried and decided to check if anything was out there.
When she opened the blinds,
She saw her mom's face, and she had a weird look on her face.
Lisa was wondering why she was outside at this time of night.
So she opened the window so she could talk to her mom.
But right when she opened the window,
A man popped up out of nowhere, holding Lisa's mom's head in his hands.
she screamed and slammed the window shut and ran out of her room.
But right when Lisa opened her bedroom door, the man was standing there with both Lisa's mom and dad's heads in his hands.
Lisa was frozen in horror and she couldn't move.
As the man walked towards her and slowly stuck a knife in her neck.